In the previous lesson, we set up functions in order to run blocks of code, and these blocks of code move the element that we have on the page. So the next thing we want to do in this project is add keyboard events. So listing on the document object, let's set that up where we've got our document and adding an event listener. So anywhere that the document is clicked, we're going to be listening for the keyboard event. And you can also specify keyboard events on particular elements as well. So whenever the key down is clicked, then we're going to invoke this anonymous function. And for now, we'll log out and pass in the event object. So clicking the keys, you get the keyboard event, and we see the event object is being passed. And there's a bunch of information contained within each object, and including the key code. So this is the one that we're looking for, and we're going to listen for the different key codes. We also want to have a function that prevents any of the default actions. So for keyboard clicks, there's a default action associated with it, and if we do a prevent default, that will null that default action. And in this case, really, we don't see anything happening with the keys being pressed, but it is always a good idea to include that in case you want to have that running in your code. So we're listening for the key down anywhere on the document object, and we're tracking the key code values. So if we want to just get the key code, and this is an object, just like the elements, we can get the exact key code. So now clicking, you can see that these clicks are responding to key codes. We're retrieving back the key codes. And this is the right arrow, this is down, this is left, and this is up. So we've got various numbers that are coming back. So 37, 38, 39, and 40. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to check whatever the key code value is. And we can also put the key code in an object so that we can track it. We can call it key C, and this is where we're going to get that key code value. And then we can check if whatever the value of key C is, and if key C is 37, then this means that we need to move left. So we want to run the function of go left. So add that in, and then we can use else if and check to see if the other key values are present. So checking to see if 39 is available, and 39 is the right key, and then we're going to invoke the function go right, and then also accounting for the up and down. So the up key is 38. And these are the arrow keys on your keyboard. So up is 38, so let's attach the right function for that. So go up and go down, and let's see what happens. So refresh, open this up bigger. So I'm going to press the keys, and you're going to see the key code showing up in the console. So if I go right, you can see that the key code shows up down here at the bottom, and the element moves to the right. We also can move down, so it shows up as 40. Also to the left and up. So it doesn't matter how many times you press the key code, it runs that block of code, so it executes that function that's associated with it. And now we've associated the key presses with the various functions that we created in the previous lesson. So go ahead and add this into your project. And coming up, we're going to add some more interaction with the keyboard, changing the element color. Later on in the lessons, we're going to extend on the functionality of this application. So that is all still yet to come. Let's have some fun with the element that we created, and we're going to have on a key press updating the background color. And we already saw earlier how we can set a background color, and in this case, in this lesson, we need to generate a random hex value that we can return back and use as our background color. And we're going to do this using JavaScript math. So taking a value where we've got math random method, and you can see what gets returned back from math random. We invoke this function, and you see we get a 0, decimal, and a bunch of characters. So we can extend on that by updating it and applying another, so stringing another method to it and adding in to string, and we can specify that if we want a hexadecimal value being returned back, we can specify toString 16, because hexadecimal is base 16, and it includes the A, B, C, D, E, and F letters, as well as all of the regular 10 digits. So you can see that now we're getting a hexadecimal return back value, and it's still 0 decimal and then the hexadecimal. So what we want to do is we want to return back a substring -6 on this. And what that will do is that will take the last 6 characters that are available here and return that information back. And then of course we can utilize that in order to build our random color. So if we do a substring -6, it will return back the last 6 characters from that string. So we can use that, and we can use this formula to generate a random hexadecimal value. So let's create a function for that to handle this. I'm creating a function, and we can just call this random color, and this function is going to return back this value. And we also need to add in the hash in front of this in order to have it a proper color format. And when we add it to a number, we're going to return it back as a string. And this is hexadecimal anyway, so it's being returned back as a string value. So let's listen for the key code that we want to attach to it. And I'm going to press the key C, and we get a value of 67. So adding that in as the key that we're listening for. So we're listening for key 67. And what we want to do is take the myBlock object, select its style value and background color, and we're going to equal the background color to whatever is being returned back from random color function. And you can also, in order to run a block of code, you can also use the curly brackets around these. And because we're all on that same statement line, that's why we didn't have to include them. And it would just simply run the statement after the condition is met. So we can try that out. And now you see that if I press C, and let me refresh that, and if I press C, you see that the color of the element is updating. And I still have the other functionality where I can move left, I can move up, I can move right, and I can move down. So all of that functionality is still there. So go ahead and try this out. Add in the ability to generate a random color using math random. This lesson, we're going to be building out a list of commands so that when you press the key codes, it's not going to move immediately, and we can run all of the commands afterwards. So we see in our current example, as we press the arrow keys, element moves around the page accordingly to whatever arrow key we've pressed. So we want to add in the ability to create a list of commands. So let's create that, and this can be called myFunctionList. And right now this is a blank global object, just like the myBlock. We're going to create an element in order to house and so that we can visibly see all of those commands. So within the myFunctionList, just as we did with the myBlock, using document create element, and the element that we're creating is going to be a div, and we're simply going to be appending it, the same thing that we did with the myBlock, where we're appending it to the document body, and that's going to give us a container in order to deposit the commands into. And the way that we want to do this is we want to have a list of commands, and we're also going to create a global array that we can add all of the commands in. So the array will be called funList. So the idea is that every time one of these keys is pressed, we're going to send that information over to a function. And the function that we need to create is going to be called addFun. And what this is going to do is this is going to add that function information into the array, as well as show it visibly. And then when we press the arrow key, the space, or the enter key, then we're going to run all of the commands. So we'll be able to build out a list of the directions that this element is going to move, and then run that. So we'll see that we can invoke all of the different functions and run them sequentially. So instead of going left, we're going to send this information over to addFun, and we're going to just send in the information left. We're going to do the same thing for right and up and down. So all of them are going to get the information now being passed into the array, as well as storing it to be added in and run at a later point. Passing in all of these values into the add, and the first thing that we want to do is take funList, and we're going to push whatever the value is into the array, and we'll console log that information out. So we'll console log out the value of fun list. So now whenever I press any of the arrow keys, you can see that they're being added into the array. So that's the fun list array there. We also can remove out the tracking of the key codes in the console, because we don't need that at the moment. So next thing that we want to do is we want to output it visually. So we already created a container to do that, and that's going to be the my function list element on the page. And we want to add this visually to that element. So we're pushing it into the array, and let's create a span. So using document, create element, creating a span element, and we're going to attach some text into it. So it'll be span, adding in some text content into that. And what we'll do is we'll just add in whatever the value of val is. We can also apply some styling, adding in padding to that. So do 10 pixels of padding for each one of those span elements. Also a border so that we can distinguish the different ones. So 1 pic, solid, and we'll make it a really light color border. And then now we're ready to add it onto the page so that it's visible. So using append child method, append the span object to the page. So now when I press the keys, you see that they're showing up on the screen. And we also have a list of all of the different directions that we want to move within that array, the fun list array. So we see them visually, and we also see them within the array. Also, I wanted to add in the ability to hover over these elements, and we'll update the styling as we hover over. So this can be done with an event listener, and adding in the mouse over event. We're going to invoke a function, and this function is going to run, and it's going to update the current object or the span. So either one will point to the same object and update the background color. And we're going to turn the background color, how about we make it red? And then also this style color, and we'll set that to be white. So let's see what happens now. And now I need to enter in a bunch of these. Whenever I hover over them, you see that they go red. And we also want to add one more event listener for mouse out so that we can remove the styling that we set up and reset it back to the way that it was. So adding in a background color of white and updating the text to be black. So let's add that in now. Now you can see that now whenever I hover over them, we've got this hover effect that you can do with CSS as well as you can do it with JavaScript. And we're listing out all of the different directions that we want to move. So the next thing that we want to add in, and this is coming up in the next lesson, is the ability to run through these functions and run them as commands. So have that element moving, so it would go, whenever we're ready, we go right down, right down, right down, and have that element run the sequence. So that's coming up in the next lesson. So go ahead and add this into your project, the ability to see which arrows have been pressed, display it on the screen, and also add in that mouse over and mouse out effect.